Hey everybody, welcome to Homeschooling Hub, and tonight I've got some exciting things to talk about around tea parties. Tea parties, yes. So I'm Jill Wolf, learning specialist, and I help homeschool parents plan meaningful experiences to awaken the learning. And tonight is episode 3 of my series, Using Play to Improve Writing. And tonight we're going to focus on tea parties, and I'm so excited you're here. For those who are watching the replay, please feel free to write in comments. I'd love to hear what you think and your ideas and what you tried from this, and I will comment back. So with that, let's jump in and get started. First thing I want to do, gosh, I haven't even gone a minute and I'm jumping right in, but I've got a lot tonight. The first thing I want to do is I want to have you hold the term writing loosely. I want to kind of loosen your grip on writing and how you define it. Because tea parties can frequently involve kids, specifically little girls, but any gender, from about 4, 5, 6, 7. So they're very young. So when we think of writing, we're like, how is she going to get writing out of tea parties? And so the reason I want you to loosen the grip is because what I want you to consider is writing is any way that I or your child am communicating ideas to you, the parent, or to someone else, to an audience. And so writing is really my way of, as a writer, is my way of taking what I've researched and understood and putting it in some kind of form that expresses out and communicates out and to others my understanding about a topic or my ideas or whatever. So as we get into this, I want you to let go of thinking of writing as just text. It could have pictures, it could have art, it could have graphics, it could have other kinds of features. I want you to let go of thinking of text or writing as it has to all be handwritten. I want you to let go of thinking of the text form of like paragraphs or multi-paragraphs, almost like straight running text. And I want you to embrace the idea that every piece of good writing has pre-writing. And so learning those skills are some of what I'm going to elaborate on tonight, as well as I'm going to come up with some different forms and ideas for you about how to get your child to be doing some writing from or before setting up for a tea party. Okay, so with that, I'm going to jump in. And tonight I have some special fun little props because tea parties always, always, always involve some kind of dress up and fun little guests. Okay, so we're going to start with, so I have my list. I'm going to go ahead and list back here like I've done before. And, oh, I see that I'm going out of the camera. Let me tip it up. I don't want it to go too far because then you see my ceiling. Oh, yeah, there it is. Okay, so tea parties. The first thing I want to address is the invite. Okay, so invitations. Now, you might be thinking, well, invitations, how's that really writing? But invitations have a certain form. They have certain information in them that's different than another form. If I write a thank you note, there's different information in it than an invitation. So to talk about, okay, so what's in an invitation? Well, we tell you the time and the date and the location. It's addressed to a specific person or family or group of people, inviting them to join. If there's a theme, if they're to bring something, if they're to come prepared to share something, that's all in an invitation. Usually an invitation has an RSVP. So you get a chance to talk about the invitation as a text form as they make it. You also, invitations are always pretty. And so here's a chance for your child. I'm going to focus more on girls because I tend to think girls are going to enjoy this a little bit more. But this is a chance for your little girl to do some artistic expression here, whether it's curlicues and colors and colored pencils. If they're not big into that, but they want some art, then there's actually a free program online, a free app called Canva. It's canva.com. You can access it through Facebook. And like this big of the app is free. If you want this big of the app, you pay for it. But it really is a user-friendly version that's like, it's the user-friendly version of a Photoshop. So someone who's going into massive graphics with layers and layers of text and colors and images, they use Photoshop. So all of my graphics, anything you see on my website, I did in Canva, and I did it, and I'm not a graphic artist. So your daughter can go on there and play around. It'd be a chance to learn, a new app, some tech skills. But they could create an invitation. They could find some samples online. So you have this essentially invitations as a text form, and you can talk about the info that's on it. You can get artistic, and from this you could go to like Google Images. I just did this today and looked up tea party or tea party invitations or flower art or something, and all these images come up. And some of them you can grab and pull off real quick. And you could just put them into, so again, you could use canva.com. I will put it into the body of this Facebook Live. Or you could just even do it in Word, Microsoft Word, or Google Pages, whichever word processing doc. But you create the invitation with some artistic and text form and info, and then that leads you to deciding some things about your tea party. Are you going to go with a theme? Now, theme is a huge word in the writing world and in the reading world, especially with narrative and storytelling. And but we're using it a little bit loosely here with, well, maybe your theme is horses. Maybe your daughter loves horses, so we want kind of a horseback riding tea party. So we're going to talk about horseback riding, and we're going to have invitations that have horses on them, and people are to pretend they have whatever. So you can pick a theme. It could be horses. It could be English tea. It could be there's just so many themes that you could come up with, and every tea party you do could be different. But if you decide on a theme, then you include it in your invite, right? Okay. All right, so I'm going to move away from invitations and the idea to the theme of roles. There's a lot of role play that goes on at tea parties, right? We have a lot of imaginative play. We have 4 girls sitting around a table, or frequently we have daughter, and then we have mom. Hi, Livette. So glad you joined. And hi, Karen. But tea parties frequently are the individual, the little girl, and like her dolls, right? So a lot of imaginative play, and she can have all her dolls. Hi, so good to see you, Livette. I'm so glad you're here. And so she can make up what the roles are for the dolls. But sometimes you can actually have people sitting there. So maybe mom is going to play, maybe grandma's coming, or one girlfriend or an aunt. And these people are going to be sitting around the table. So your daughter, as part of the kind of writing that we're doing, we're going to say, hey, you know what? You need to decide on roles for everybody. So I brought some props to kind of help you because, you know, tea parties. So maybe we have the cowgirl. So 1, okay. Hey there, y'all. How you doing? Okay, that character, maybe that's one of the roles that she wants. Gosh, I forgot how good I look in this hat. Ha, sorry, sidebar. I never wear it because I don't go country dancing anymore, and I need to. Wow. Anyway, so we have the cowgirl, and so one of the roles she could say is, I want a cowgirl to be there. And so then you can ask questions to have her kind of tease out, well, what is a cowgirl? What kinds of things would she say? How do you want her to act at this? And you actually start to dig into a character description and even a backstory. So you're doing some of the pre-writing work for a narrative story, a narrative writing later on. But we're doing it about a tea party. So we're setting up what are going to be the roles there. So we have a cowgirl, okay? So then we decide, okay, other than a cow, grandma's coming. So let's have grandma come as this, like, you know, she has her sun hat and she has her scarf that she wears, and Grandma comes in all, hi ladies, this is Grandma here. I do that. I just had a jungle tea party. How fun. Did you guys do animals? Or were you just set in the jungle and so it was a bunch of individuals? You'll have to comment and tell me more about that. But Grandma, so you've got all your actresses that could be all sophisticated. So maybe Grandma's gonna be this sophisticated actress that, she comes in all, hi darling, everything's so marvelous. This tea is just marvelous, and oh, your table and your setup is just marvelous. Let Grandma and let people go with this. But your daughter has actually come up with roles and kind of how she wants them to act, whether it's just how they talk or how they're going to dress or some of their backstory that they're going to bring to the conversation. Okay. I always love, I love old classics. So I'm kind of a Audrey Hepburn buff, so I look and I go, okay, so what would an Audrey Hepburn type look like? She'd have her hair back, and where's my hair clip here? Sorry, I'm having a lot of fun with this. She has her hair back, and Audrey Hepburn always wore scarves over her hair when she was driving, right? And back. I'm not putting it on right. I don't have Audrey Hepburn hair. And then she would drape it around like this, right? And she had her big glasses. This is the biggest glasses I have, and they're broken. I got to get these fixed. So right now I'm very careful with them. But she has her giant glasses right now that are in style. Just Audrey Hepburn. She sits down. Maybe she's quiet. Okay, so I'm getting a little elaborate here, but my point being that there is all sorts of roles that your daughter can start to tease out for writing. And then she can write out role cards and actually give either names or descriptions or specific things that she wants you to say or do to add some excitement to the party. But ahead of time, she plans all that out and she writes them. Now, let's say that your daughter is young enough, 4, 5, 6, not writing all her letters yet. Then maybe she says them to you and you write them, or she says them to you and you type them and you print them, or she does a voice to text, even on your phone. And then somehow you send that to print, or you capture it in a picture, whatever. Anyway, there are some different ways to get that actually written on the page. But the writing she's doing is coming up with these characters and this fun that's going to show up at the party in the form of roles. Okay. Another one is topics for discussion. So frequently it's every tea party is a heyday of improv, right? Everybody's coming up with funny things to say and do whatever. But you can sometimes take it in a certain direction with a topic. So maybe you just have a conversation, what kind of topic? And from that would be, what kind of questions then should we ask, or should you ask, to help guide the conversation and the discussion a little bit? So if we want to talk about, maybe we want to talk about the china. Okay, so maybe you have really nice china that you could set out because Grandma's coming. So you can actually have real cups and saucers versus just plastic ones or imaginary ones. And so you talk about the china. Or maybe you want to talk about tea and the food you're going to serve, or the fact that this is a tradition that started in England and where that came from. You may have to prompt her on some of the things you could talk about, but it also could be as fun as we're going to talk about our favorite Disney princess and why that's our favorite, or we're going to talk about the latest movies that we just saw. So you're just setting up for topics discussion and some questions that you write out and that you help her with. Okay, tea party theme. Okay, recipes. This is a fun one. If you're actually going to fix any food for your tea party, write the recipe out. And that's a lot of words for a 5 or 6-year-old to write, but it could be that you talk through what all the words are in the recipe. Maybe you photocopy it or you print it 5 times, or if you're actually having guests and you want to hand it out, then then you have to write it or print it. But otherwise, you're just going to show people this is it and talk through the recipe. But let's say you want to try to make crumpets or shortbread or some of the things they actually have at a tea, little bitty sandwiches or whatnot. Then you can do some research about that and then have your recipes. And you're writing, essentially, what is our food going to be like? With that then comes menu. Now I had Christmas dinner at my house this past year, and so I did a very formal dinner. I haven't got to do that in a really long time, and it was so much fun. And so I had menus printed out on every plate so that they could see what we were having by course. And so that's something fun that you can write. Now, a menu takes a different form, and I keep saying text form. And what I mean is that you and I are so proficient at being able to look at, oh, scones, yes, yes. If you have a good scone recipe, you got to share it with me, Livette. But we have become so proficient ourselves at being able to look at something and say, oh, that's a recipe. Oh, that's a menu. Oh, that's an invitation. Oh, that's a role description. Oh, that's a story. Oh, that's a newspaper article. If that's text form, we've gotten so comfortable ourselves between that, we forget that that's one thing our kids have to learn. Thumbs up, yes. And so being able to just talk through and look at some of these is some writing work as well. If we're going to make a menu, then we got to look and see what some menus look like. What's on a menu that's different than what's on an invitation? What kind of information is different? I even create menus into the packets I designed for inspiration education. Oh, yeah. Oh, is that for like when you plan a field trip and an event with it and you include menus so that the food goes with the experience? I know I'm asking a question and I don't know that you're able to get it quick enough. Yes, okay, great. Now bring it to your daughter making the menu. And so, you know, you might have peanut butter and jelly and little sandwiches, but we cut off the crusts, and maybe we have little goldfish crackers, but in a nice little bowl. And instead of real tea, we're going to have like sparkling cider in these tiny little glass, like whatever it is, and then talk about how what we're going to serve and eat and drink is a menu, and that's different than a recipe, and it's different than these. So just some other things you can write. Now, if your child's a little older, then you can start to get into some a more text-based kind of writing. So for example, maybe you're going to have her compare two tea parties. So Livette, you guys had a jungle one. So maybe you do a jungle one, and then another time you do one that's very like outdoor, flowery, summertime kind of thing. So then you have her write a comparison. Oh, I can't write backwards. Comparison of the tea parties. And the reason I have this is not because we want to have any value judgments go on about each. It's so that we can begin this thinking of comparison. That kind of thinking is a lot deeper than just descriptive thinking. So I'm describing roles, or I'm describing the kind of conversation I have, but now I'm getting to comparing things. And it could be as simple as the setup. We could compare the food. We could compare the conversation. We can compare as a theme. How did we decorate or look different? So a comparison, you can start to talk about comparing them if they're younger, but if you want them to actually write it a little bit older. But again, if they're not actually handwriting this out, but you're talking through it and they're sharing their ideas with you, it's the pre-writing stage. And that is just as important and just as valuable for them to learn how to do that. Okay. A menu, recipes. Oh, a guest list. That kind of goes up here with some of these. So I'm going to put it up here. It has a guest list look different than invitations and recipes than a menu. Just some other things that you could write there. Okay, so back down to a little bit more, I want to say a little more sophisticated kind of writing. You could summarize. So this is after. This is also after. after the tea party. Summarize the guests' ideas about, and then your topic. Now, this is very interesting, and it requires a bit of thought. So we had 3 guests. They all played roles, so it's not like I'm, saying mom thinks this. I'm saying whatever mom's character was. And what were some of the things that she said about this particular topic that I set us up for? And what was some of her views about it? Now, first of all, it's recalling and it's reflective. So they're not going to remember a ton of what was said, but little snippets and bits. And they'll be able to go, Mom said something like this. I thought that's interesting. Or Grandma said this, and that was interesting. If you really want to dive into this, you could set up a video, or even use your iPhone that has voice memos and tape it. Go back and listen. What was it that Grandma said about this or Mom said about this? But you're then getting into summarize the guests' ideas. Now, it's after some play, but you're asking them to go back to things that were said there and think about it and record it in some way. It's a good kind of thinking that's going on. I want to come back up to, this is kind of pre-tea party. So this is before. And a lot of these center on different kinds of text forms that set up for a really good tea party. These are some things after. Another after, if you want a little less words and some more artistic or creativity, is to do a collage of, and it could be either artwork or pictures you find online, or collage of pictures from tea party. Now, I know what you're thinking. A collage isn't writing. How is it that you're telling them they're going to improve writing through a collage? Many times we don't have the words to express things, but pictures do, right? What's that saying? A picture's worth 1,000 words. Okay. So did I say that right? Picture's worth 1,000 words. Yeah. So capturing pictures from just a couple pictures of all of us sitting there. Or maybe my brother, who doesn't want to be at the tea party, will be our photographer, and he'll take a bunch of pictures for me. Or I get pictures offline that I just print about a tea party, and I put together a collage. Can begin to express, can help us with theme. It can help us with the feeling. What was the feeling and general emotion going on here? Like, are all the pictures, are we all laughing? Did we laugh our heads off at this tea party? Were we very sophisticated and proper and polite at this tea party? Was somebody in particular kind of goofy, and then this person was like, what is the feeling? And that emerges in a collage, and being able to talk about that or observe that. So a collage isn't necessarily words, but it is expressing. I'm communicating out the day, event, and the feeling that went with it. And you certainly can ask them, like, why did you use this picture? And what is so cool about this picture? And let them, what is it that they're expressing? I just think Grandma was so funny. This picture just gets it. You know what I mean? Like, they can start to express to you why they chose what they did for their collage. Okay, so let me see what else I've got here. Menu, guest list, collage, discussion, summary of guests. Okay, so I think I've got just about everything. If other ideas come up, ooh, I like all those little, whoever's giving me all those little emojis, thank you. they're fun. Tea parties are all about a imaginative play as we sit there and we interact. If it's our dolls, then we're imagining what they're saying, and we're imagining how they're interacting and their personalities. If we've given roles to the people and they're playing them, we're observing the interactions there. And whether there's conflict or jokes or interesting discussion, we get to play into all of that. And I tell you, some of the best films I've seen have been able to capture the dynamics of a group sitting around a meal, and I can see dynamics between the people. I can see emotions or motives or things that are someone's struggling with, and you can see how relationships are like strong or intense. You can see that as people sit around a dinner table or a meal table or a tea table and converse. So we're just doing that at a much younger age and giving them a chance to see some of that. So they play it, then we take a step back afterwards and we ask them to kind of reflect on some of it and look back at what was there and what was, were there any conflicts during the tea? So some of the kind of writing may really depend on what goes on there. And the characters that this person, either that the participants bring or that the host, the little girl, has asked them to bring. But I think you have a wide range of kinds of stuff that you could do and that you could talk about and that you could get to some writing with tea parties. So I am going to close off and let you have the rest of your night, but I want to hear from those of you who try any of this stuff. I'd love to see some of the things that you come up with or the way that your tea parties grow or change as a result of tonight. And I'm seeing there's no new comments, so I'm glad. I'm really hoping that this gives you guys something to work with, those that host tea parties. And yeah, I hope you guys have a fabulous Thursday night and Friday if you're watching this as a replay, and a weekend that's just spectacular. And I will be back next week. Next week we're doing, I really should know this. I don't have my little sheet in front of me. I think it's video games. I'm not sure. I'm going to double check. But I do want to hear from you guys and from others what kind of play you want me to do next. April is still wide open. And looking at, with this theme, using play to improve writing. It's a series I'm doing. And I want your input on other ideas for play. Okay? Thank you so much for joining me. And we'll talk soon. Okay? Bye-bye.